During 1944, in the state of South Carolina, 14-year-old George Stinney was accused of the murder of two young girls. Not only did the state of South Carolina deny his Fifth Amendment to a fair trial, he was given cruel and unusual punishment, which is against the Eighth Amendment. On a sunny day in the state of South Carolina during 1944, George Stinney was outside with his sister, Amy Stinney. As they were outside, two girls, 11-year-old Betty June Binnicker and 7-year-old Mary Emma Thames, biked past George and Amy.
In Clarendon County, a railroad splits the town into two, one for the white, the other for the colored. Betty and Mary crossed the railroad tracks on the way to pick flowers. They stopped and asked George and Amy where to find maypops. That was the last time they saw the two girls.
Betty and Mary told their family they would be back in 30 minutes. After a while, their families got worried. The next day, the two were found by a search party. A member of the search party was George Stinney himself.
The girls were found dead in a water-filled ditch. George was the last person that the girls saw. The autopsy results said their heads were heavily damaged. The murder weapon was a railroad spike. Since George was the only Negro person to help search for the two girls, he was the first murder suspect.
George was instantly taken to the police station for interrogation. His parents were run out of town. George spent several long hours being questioned. He was in an interrogation room with many angry police officers determined to get a confession from George.
George finally confessed of killing Betty and Mary. Throughout the interrogation, George did not have his parents or an attorney by his side. The officer bribed George with food to confess to the murder. This type of confession is called a coerced, compliant, false confession.
George's court date was short after the interrogation. George's trial took place in the Clarendon County Courthouse on April 24, 1944. The trial only took 10 minutes. The case opened and closed in one day. The all-white jury's verdict was guilty. The courtroom was filled with around 1,500 angry white people.
Negroes were not allowed in the courtroom during the trial. This was a huge deal in the black community. George did not have an alibi because his family was run out of town. Based on George's skin color, he did not stand a chance. George was going to be executed.
George's family had no say in the situation. They felt helpless and hopeless. George's father was fired from his job after George's trial. George's brother Charles didn't know what to do without his brother. George's mom cried until her eyes were swollen and swore her son didn't do it.
2 months after the trial, George was executed. In order for George to fit into the electrocuting chair, officers had to put books on the seat for him to reach the head electrodes. It only took a few shocks until George was dead.
This upcoming clip is from Vimeo. It is an interview with Charles Stinney, George's brother.
If the attorneys in South Carolina are successful in wiping this from the record, does that give you any type of solace or closure, or is there any feeling that you have that this may actually happen?
Well, it would be good if it can, but like I say, he already paid for this life, and nothing will, even if they take it off, it will still not bring him back. And so because most of the people who were there who know, probably don't pass on now. It could help for generation to come on to concerning him not being guilty, but those who were there were still the deceased and maybe die believing alive.
Did your father say anything or share anything with you about what he felt about this entire situation at the time?
No, he didn't discuss it too much about it. You know, I guess he just it hurt to him, but by him trying to be a man, I guess he hold a lot of things, but he really didn't discuss it with me. He might discuss with the daughters, but for me, he didn't say too much about it.
And your mother?
My mother didn't too. Only thing when I could put him to death. She just tell me, just don't worry because my brother won't be coming back and wouldn't come back if he could.
George was 14 years old when he was executed. He is the youngest boy to be executed in the United States. Attorney Steve McKenzie read about the case and would like to try and clear George's name. He and many other people believe that Stinney did not commit the crime. There is not enough evidence. McKenzie said, "It's not the strongest case in the world." In South Carolina, during 1944, George Stinney was denied his right to a fair trial. He was also denied the right to an attorney and every due process right to a criminal defense. No one spoke for George Stinney in 1944. These attorneys are fighting to speak for George today.